Markets aren't static. They breathe. They react with job rates and seasonality and interest rates. So if you hear someone say they're waiting for the market to crash or they're trying to wait for interest rates to go down, that's not always the best plan. Market shifts. Working with a real estate professional who has their thumb on the pulse of the market is definitely the best way to navigate all of the different markets there are. Hey friends, welcome back to Real Estate Insight with me, your favorite broker. I'm Lindsay Williams, your guide to navigating the ever-changing world of real estate. Whether you're buying, selling, investing, or just love keeping a pulse on the market, this podcast is for you. Today, we're diving into one of those behind-the-scenes metrics that doesn't get nearly enough love, but quietly plays a huge role in how we talk about the market. And what is that? Absorption rates. If you've ever heard someone say it's a seller's market or the market's stabilizing or we're heading into a buyer's market, well, absorption rates are one of the key indicators behind those labels. So buckle up. We're going to break this down in a way that's hopefully easy to understand, show you how it works, how we get those numbers, what it looks like in real life, and talk about how this metric can give you clarity. So whether you're about to make a move or, I don't know, just like to be the most informed person at the dinner table, this episode is for you. Let's start with the basics. Absorption rates measure how quickly homes are selling in a specific market during a specific time period. It's typically expressed in months of inventory. In plain terms, it answers this question. If no new homes were listed today, how long would it take to completely extinguish that inventory at the current pace of sales? That means that if nothing new was listed, how long would the current amount of listings last? This number is critical because it tells us whether the market favors sellers, buyers, or if it's a relatively balanced and stable market. Let's look at absorption rates in terms of thresholds. If it's 1 to 4 months of inventory, that's typically a seller's market. Homes are selling quickly, buyers face more competition, prices often rise. More buyers than homes are available. And usually that is the time where we see multiple offers and sellers are seeing a lower time on market. If we are having 5 to 6 months of inventory, that is a balanced or stable market where the supply and demand is relatively equal. In that balanced market, homes sell close to asking price with fair competition. Tips for everyone: stick to fundamentals, realistic pricing, good communication, and strong marketing always wins. Now, when there's over 7 months supply, this usually signals a buyer's market. There are more homes available than buyers to purchase them. So buyers have a lot to look for, a lot to search through. This leads to longer days on market and more negotiating power for buyers. Here's the thing though, markets are fluid. So just because you are in a seller's market today doesn't mean it's going to stay that way next quarter or really even next month. Rates shift and inventory fluctuates. Buyer demand rises or falls very suddenly. You're in a totally different environment. So let's have story time with some real world examples. Back in early 2021, here in North Central West Virginia, I was working with a seller who had owned their home for about 5 years. Inventory was tight, rates were low, and buyers were lining up. We had 2 months of inventory, a classic seller's market. Their home sold in 4 days with multiple offers. Now fast forward to mid-23, same neighborhood, very similar home, honestly maybe even a little bit nicer, but this time there were 6 months of inventory. Buyers were more cautious, interest rates had ticked up a little bit, and it took 48 days to get an offer. Very nice outcome, very good experience, same area, same price point, different absorption rate, different story. So, why does all this matter? If you're a seller, understanding the absorption rate can help set realistic expectations on how long it may take to sell and what kind of pricing strategy to use. And if you're a buyer, knowing if you're in a competitive market can help determine how fast you need to act and how strong your offer needs to be when it's initially presented. If you're an investor, absorption rates can help forecast market trends and influence when and where to buy. It's a tool that helps take emotion out of the process and replace it with strategy. Key takeaway though, we are predicting the future through historic data and current trends. None of us have a crystal ball, and the market can shift on a dime. For example, in April of 2025, see, we're still here in story time. In April of 2025, I took a listing that we had started talking about in February, March of 25. We were in a super high seller's market, somewhere between 1.25 months inventory in North Central West Virginia. And the price point we chose to list was one that was adequate for the time we started this discussion. By the time we listed the property at the end of April, the market had shifted where the pendulum was starting to swing in a way that the market was stabilizing. When we looked at end of May numbers, the market had already gone to a stable market. And by the end of June 2025, which this is being recorded in the beginning of July 25. So by the time last week showed up and we looked at the end of June numbers, we had already gone from over here in a seller's market through a stable market, and we are just stepping into a buyer's market. This is indicated not only through the absorption rate, but also by seeing sellers reducing the price, days on market expanding slightly, even though we are still seeing quicker days on market than in historic past. And we are also seeing buyers being able to have more negotiation power and a little bit more time to make a buying decision. Remember how I have mentioned that not all sales professionals or their brokers are created equal? Not all keep a close eye on absorption rates, and they should. They vary by county and sometimes even neighborhood. Some areas and price points are still moving quickly with low inventory, while others are slowing down. You may see a seller's market in some places, but a more balanced market in others. This is why real estate isn't just local, it's hyper-local. So if you're scrolling headlines saying it's a seller's market or prices are crashing or you are never going to be able to buy a house again, pause before you panic. Is it the truth? Probably not. Maybe not in your neighborhood. What's happening nationally doesn't always apply locally, and that's why working with a local expert truly matters. Markets aren't static. They breathe. They react to interest rates, to job growth, to inventory. They even react seasonally. So when you hear someone say, I'll just wait for the market to crash, I'm pretty sure it's going to, or I miss my window of opportunity, I'll never get to buy a house. Don't panic, take a breath. The market is always shifting. The key is knowing how to interpret. The key is knowing how to interpret those shifts and working with a real estate professional who has their thumb on the pulse of the market so they can help you navigate through any of the markets as they come and go. Here's the deal. Whether you're thinking about buying, selling, or just curious about your home's value, now is the time to educate yourself and plan ahead. It is never too late to talk to a realtor or a real estate sales professional. Never too late to plan for your lifestyle and your future. All right, that wraps up today's episode on absorption rates, one of the best kept secrets in market analysis. If you found this helpful, do me a favor. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss an episode, and share this episode with someone who you think could benefit from this insight. Maybe a friend thinking of buying or selling, or someone who's just curious about real estate knowledge and being able to talk about the market with others. And of course, if you ever have questions or want to know what the absorption rate looks like in your neighborhood, reach out. We would love to help. Thanks for hanging out with me and taking a little bit of time today. And until next time, I'm Lindsay Williams, your favorite broker, helping you stay one step ahead in real estate. See you next time.